Hi, everyone. Good day, and I hope you're doing very well. So, you're seeing new faces today. It's not Melissa. Today, it's a different set of people together, and I hope you enjoy our conversation today. I'm not alone. My name is Miracle Hijimba, by the way. I'm the head of outreach at Black and Global Business Network, and I'm not alone. I'm co hosting this space with Oscar. Please, Oscar, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, good day, everyone. Oscar Frazier here. I reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm the owner of a company called In Demand Consulting Services, Inc.
Great. So Oscar, could you like maybe tell us a little bit about what you do, how you do what you do, and how you directly support businesses in the United States?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I guess it makes sense to kind of talk about a little bit about my background and where I'm from, all that good stuff, and then we can go from there. So, Miracle, I come from humble beginnings, right, in Charleston, South Carolina. And I watched my parents navigate difficult times with grit and grace, right? The foundation that they set pushed me to lead really early in my career. So I found myself, launching and running businesses at the early ages of in my early 20s. And so since then, my career has pretty much spanned across from Fortune 500 roles to managing global projects across the continent of Africa, Europe, and South America. Those projects have focused in on things like global crisis management issues, finding ways to humanize technology and to humanize government. But all those things said, I've always had a heart for transformation. That's always been my thing. Eventually, I officially launched In Demand Consulting in 2004, but started doing it full time in 2012. And I haven't looked back since. And since that time, we've been, focused on humanizing the very systems that we often find cold, right? So things that tend to be dehumanized now, like IT systems, service delivery, government contracting, the things that you sometimes see that are a bit cold and seeming so just automated, we have found a way to put the human back into a dehumanized world.
Super amazing. Okay, so I'm thinking of it from the concept of human-centered design and involving a touch of humanity even in artificial intelligence. I think it's one thing that's almost always missing when you have technological solutions, and it's so beautiful to see and know what you're doing. So yeah, I'll just say a little bit about Black and Global. I'm guessing everybody here should at least have a knowledge or two about Black and Global Business Network, but I'll just share little insights as to who we are, what we do, how we started, and just a general story of why we're here today and why we even have what we have going on for us right now. So, Black and Global Business Network is a business that is focused solely for Black people in the United States and a little bit outside of the United States as well. But primarily, we're helping Black businesses to export their goods, services, whatever it is at all, to other parts of the world as long as it's exportable. And we do this via several means. We leverage our knowledge when it comes to the US commercial services, the government sectors. We're led by a team of attorneys and tax attorneys and people that understand how exactly the government's processes work. And so the information that comes out of this network are informations that are verified, not just verified, but are very relevant to our Black businesses. So I'll say it's the way the CEO always sees it. The concept of Black and Global came to be after the murder of George Floyd in 2020. And it was a thing of how exactly can we directly support Black communities in a way that our businesses are also benefiting from the government resources that are definitely available. We realize that most times it's not that our businesses do not want to benefit from this, but they just lack access or information. And so creating that knowledge or bridging that knowledge gap was a call for us as Black and Global Business Network. And we're here today solving the same problem really in different ways. And one of the ways we're solving that is one campaign that we're currently running. And we will talk about that in our next episode, which is the High Africa campaign. Don't worry, sit tight, you would hear more about that moving forward. But enough of that. Let's just go a little bit more into who exactly Oscar is, what he does, and how exactly Oscar can, directly support you as a business. So, Oscar, a quick question though. Was there a specific moment or experience that made you want to help entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, just to be totally transparent, because I believe in just keeping it real, it was really when I saw so many brilliant entrepreneurs. And what really took me by storm was the fact that most of them were either Black and in marginalized, communities or marginalized founders that really just didn't have, the resources to be able to get the help that they actually needed in a meaningful way, right? So I think a lot of these founders, they have, the vision, they have the talent, but with no guidance navigating like the bureaucracy, the technology, or even government procurements, that's when I really saw the opportunity for me to step in to be able to offer, my advice and counsel from that perspective. I was watching opportunities slip through their fingers, because of, access and system design. It just all these different things. I'm like, it just lit me on fire. I was like, we got to do something, right? And I think that's really when I decided to get in demand consulting going and launched. I mean, realistically, I would have to say, so I started in demand in 2004, but I remember vividly, this was probably 2009 ish. There was a young lady that came to me and she needed a business plan, right? Had a great idea, great concept, but had never written a business plan, didn't really understand the overarching, like how to go get funding from banks and how to get funding from government, resources as well. And I just really felt for her. And at that point is when I said, yeah, I gotta make something happen with this. And so from that time forward is when I really realized that we needed to really focus inward on our communities to really help each other.
Amazing, super amazing. And I would say it's very true. We've had like several webinars throughout the course of our existence as Black and Global Business Network. And one of the recurring feedbacks that we always get after each enlightening webinar is, oh my god, I never knew. Oh, I didn't know that this existed. I didn't know this was a thing. And to be very honest, I think a good number of marginalized communities do not have as much information as people assume they do. And we love it when Black businesses are solving these problems. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to see what you're doing as well for Black businesses. All right. So again, I would want to know just it. I mean, based on your personal understanding, what would you say the phrase Black and Global signifies for you? Not necessarily Black and Global Business Network now, but Black and Global, the word itself, the phrase itself. What would you say it signifies when you think of it?
I think that it means that we, as Black people, are not bound by borders anymore, right? I think our genius, our resilience, and our solutions transcends geography, right? So it doesn't really matter where you're located. If you offer a service or you have a valuable product, you ought to be able to get it out to the masses, right? So, and from my perspective, Black and Global is really the affirmation that our stories, our businesses, and our cultural capital have value across every continent. And it's time that we act like it.
Beautiful. I think we should just name this space Black and Global with Oscar Miracle. Because I mean,
I love it. I love it already. It has a great ring to it, too. It has a great, really ring. That's a great ringtone. I love it.
all right, great. So, just something not really serious now. Why did you decide that you would okay the fact that you'll be co-hosting with me? I mean, I think this is the first time that we're. I mean, we've had meetings in the past, but this is the first time that we're directly speaking to businesses over an informative session. So, at what point did you say, okay, yes, I think this is something I want to do, and I don't mind co-hosting Miracle?
Yeah. Well, first, Miracle, I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And so kudos and hats off to you for the amazing work that you're already doing. this matters, right? This really does. And right along what coincides with that is representation with execution matters too, right? So I think I represent the execution side because I've been in the trenches of all levels of consulting, but also having my own businesses. I've had restaurants, I've owned, trucking companies and different things. So I've heard and seen a little bit of everything. And so, with your expertise from a global perspective, and my aspect on like the brass tacks, right? Meaning that the tactical and practical steps that you can take to get to the next level in whatever kind of business you may have, I think makes us a true powerhouse in being able to do this from a co-host perspective. So I'm just super excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Oscar. I was super excited when you said yes to co-hosting. I was like, okay, now that is interesting because for us, I'm of the African descent and I live within the African continent, and so I have more insight as to the African way of doing things, or the African perspective. And the idea was, who exactly do we have on board now that has insight as to the American perspective, just to bring that balance, so that we're able to talk Africa and also talk other parts of the world. And it's so beautiful to have you. And also, you're very exposed, you've done businesses in different continents in the world, and it's really commendable. And of course, I'm very, very privileged to be here speaking with you and
Oh,
co-hosting with you
thank
as well.
well, I appreciate that. The pleasure is all mine, and I share the same exact sentiments as you. It's a pleasure for me to be here as well, and it's an honor to be talking to you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's our intro. We're just letting people know what exactly we'll be talking about. It's a very simple space, so to say. We're definitely going to be talking about different things. The one you consider not very important, or the ones you consider extremely important. We're going to be bringing all of them together to tell you how each and every bit of this makes the beautiful business that you see out there. There's no smooth ride to running a business. There never is, and there never will be. We're always going to be faced with challenges, difficulties, beautiful times, great stuff, sometimes not so great stuff. And it's necessary that we talk about all of those things. And this time around, not just from the biased point of view or from the one-sided point of view, but we're going to be talking about it from a vast point of view, where we're looking at it from the African perspective as well as from the US perspective. And it's great to know that we're going to be doing this with Oscar um, throughout this period. So just a little bit of something more about the program that we're, or this YouTube space, or this conversation that we're having, right? What exactly do you think you want people to take away from these conversations? When we come together to have this conversation, what's the key thing you want people to look out for? If you were to explain it to somebody else that
Yeah.
has never heard about this before.
I hope that they see possibility, right? That you can be strategic and soulful, that you can be technical and visionary, right? And that we as Black professionals, that we have every right to take our place across the globe, right? It's our rightful place to be able to do that. And I just hope that they can see that by our conversations.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So just to a follow-up question to the question that you just answered, why do you think that our black voices in this case, or our voices in general when it comes to business, is needed in the space right now? Is there something you've seen, I mean, from your experience, for someone that has, you know, been through every bit of the nitty-gritties of running a business?
Yeah.
You've been on the good side and also on the bad side. You've seen what exactly it takes to run a business and fail, also be successful. From that point of view, why do you think, or what makes you feel like black voices are very much needed in this space, especially in the black
Yeah.
space right now?
Excellent question, Miracle. Excellent question. I think primarily because the systems that we're trying to thrive in, they were never really built for us in the first place, right? And so what we have to be able to do as Black voices in business is to be able to institutionalize the human factors, so humanizing business, technology, and government. And when we do it that way, we become disruptive. And I think oftentimes when you think of like disruptive tech, for example, it's a good thing. It's good to be disruptive in a automated, dehumanized space. So what we've got to be able to do is bring in the human factors of Black people. So not just people in general, but because I think that's so vast, right? And systems often get built with the masses in mind, but they usually don't pinpoint it down to what specific do Black people need to be successful in business. And that's not just in the US, it's global, right? And I do think with our two perspectives, we'll be able to do just that with the level of innovation, empathy, creativity, with community in mind, our community truly in mind.
Wow. Super amazing. You sound very, I think, I think most Black businesses or consulting firms that, have seen different sides to business almost always sound alike. I'm saying this because you sounded very much like Melissa while you answered that question. And it's so beautiful. It's really
Yeah,
beautiful to see when people genuinely look out for other people, whether they gain anything from it or not. It's
yeah.
excellently beautiful to witness that. And seeing the passion, the beauty, the devotedness you have for businesses, it is super amazing, and I can't wait for the world to hear your story and also
Oh
know more
man, thank
about
you.
your business as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so for someone that has this very huge vision for businesses, and for someone that has dreams for businesses and hoping that businesses are able to unlock the potentials that they are capable of unlocking that they may have not seen yet, what do you think is one big dream you have for Black business communities globally?
Um, I think I want to see us have our own infrastructure. I think oftentimes and to make sure I'm framing your question correctly, when I think about Black business communities, oftentimes it's so dissected and we're in so many different buckets. But if you think about it, it's because we've always had to be resilient. So if we can find ways to not, so we know we're already up resilient. We know that we have an ability to build systems and build good businesses, but we lack infrastructure. And so if we can bridge the gap with infrastructure to make it easier to do business beyond your geographic location, I think we then begin to be onto something, right? So if we become have our own infrastructure that also will then allow us to have our own capital, have our own logistics, have our own, it becomes just a huge ecosystem that we lack right now. So right now, today, if someone were to ask me, Oscar, I want to do business in Ghana, right? If so, my answer to that would be so vast. When what it should be able to be is here's a direct line, here are your sources, here are your resources to get you there. And I think that's what we're missing as a Black community in business globally.
Amazing, beautiful. So there's something that we had pointed out in the last webinar that we had, which was the conversation about buy black. Not just buy black within the US, but buy black even outside of the US. And
Yeah,
you know, we don't say it enough that there is a need, a very high need for us to build comfortable ecosystems that enables us to trust the Black brand. Most people would rather buy from what they're used to, what they are most comfortable with, or what has been sold to them over the years than buy a new product. Because you can't completely blame them, because we all know there is a lot of challenges that comes with opening up to a new product entirely. However, I think if we can come together as a community to build the ecosystem that you've talked about, within the continent, within um, other Black communities outside of the continent, within the United States, and many more places. It's going to be a super beautiful scenario and sight to behold, because that would mean that you could easily, over a call, over an email, be able to do business in different regions of the world, or have the resources that you've talked about, and many of these things that are posing to be difficult right now, and causing a lot of people to drag their feet, not knowing what to do. Do I really know how to export? Can I
That's right.
export? How does this affect me? That information is not handy, and people don't have it. So building that ecosystem you talked about is definitely something that should happen, and should happen quick. And I think one of
To
the
that
people
point,
that are trying their best to reach. Okay, please go ahead.
I was going to say really quickly, to that very point, one of the things that we're working on at In Demand is the humanizinggovernment.com and humanizing, technologyhumanizing.com, et cetera. But basically, what it is, it's a way for us to be able to take people on various journeys, right? If you're looking for funding, we have a journey for that. Look for government contracts, a journey. And the reason why I say these journeys is because it goes in line with exactly what you represent, what you're talking about. Because if we can give them the blueprint, here are your tactical and practical steps to get you to your end game, we then begin to build that infrastructure. So I'm hoping that as we continue out to flesh out more and more of these, interviews and conversations, that it becomes more and more apparent that our job is really to build that ecosystem that's going to last way beyond us and well into the next generations to come.
Wow. You know what this reminded me of is African Brain Bank. I don't know if you know Reverend Pamela. She is the founder of African Brain Bank, and this is quite similar to what they're doing as well. But they're trying as much as possible to, you know, make sure that the diaspora has access to us Africa's as soon as possible. The talents in Africa, the resources in Africa, and also the people in Africa also have access. We can easily, literally, I'll define it the way she would say, we can easily pick each other's brains and
Sure.
be able to solve problems quicker. I like to say that you cannot solve Africa's problem with completely with what you learned in maybe a top Ivy League university over there in the US or in the UK, wherever it is. Why? Because our problems are very unique to us. And you need a touch of Africa to be able to solve an African problem. And same way it applies to the United States as well. You need a touch of the the United States, so to say, or someone there who understands the ecosystem, how things work. You need a touch of a Black person to solve a Black people's problem.
I
And so
100% agree.
it's
Yeah, totally agree with that. Totally agree.
Well, yeah, completely. This is a very beautiful way to start, I would say.
For
So
sure.
just without without further ado, I think so one last question I would want to ask is, if you could
Okay.
tell a young entrepreneur right now, like you could tell them, this is something I think you should have known, or you should know, you should be doing. This is a business idea. This is something I think you should be doing right now. What would you tell them?
Don't wait for perfection. Do not wait for perfection. Start with what you have, where you are, and commit to excellence. I mean, your idea is valid. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not. Your background is enough. Main thing is you just got to get in motion. You got to get into the game, get moving. There'll be bumps along the way, but if you get around the right people now, get your product out there now, and course correct as you get through and as you learn more, it'll come to you. It'll come to you. Just give it the time, but you got to start now.
Amazing. Do not seek for perfection right now, but commit to excellence. I think that's one of the most beautiful. I need to make that into a quote, because that's one of the most beautiful things I've heard this past couple of weeks actually, because I think completely it's true. And as young people, we're very, very, very scared people. And we always feel that we have a lot of time. We have time by our side. We're still young. We don't need to rush and whatnot. And sometimes we constantly tell ourselves these things so much that we get used to it, and we don't even do what we're supposed to do now because we feel like we have time, until time has caught up with us and we're like, oh my god, I just wasted how many years of my life.
Yep.
And it comes with a lot of regrets. It comes with a lot of, had I known, I should have done this, I should have listened to this. And we need to correct that now. We need to start doing it. It's better to fail than not to
Yeah,
try.
that's right.
Amazing. And so the very last question would be, what's one thing you wish someone told you? I mean, we've told people now what we think, or you've told us what you think we should take note of right now as a young entrepreneur. What do you think, or what is one thing you wish someone told you a few years ago before you launched deeply into business?
Yeah, I wish someone told me that failure wasn't fatal. Oftentimes in business, you make the misconception that, hey, if I make a mistake or something doesn't work, it's going to be the worst thing ever. But you got to remember that every misstep is actually data points. It becomes data for you. And if you learn from it, it becomes your most valuable currency, right? Because now, if someone asks me, what are the steps to start a consulting business? I could tell them a very specific route to take and I could help them to miss some of those failed points, but I wouldn't know to tell them how to miss those if I hadn't gone through them, right? So that those data points makes me so much more valuable. So yeah, if someone told me, look, don't worry about failing, I probably would have done a lot more things a lot sooner if I wasn't worried about the whole what if scenario when I was first getting into business.
Wow. Thank you so much, Oscar. That was well said. And yeah, failure is not fatal necessarily. It's not the end of the world, and it's okay
Not
to fail. It's okay to learn from failing. And from what you said, experience is indeed the best teacher, as long as it's not costing you your life. you know
that's right.
Experience is indeed the best teacher. And thank you so much, Oscar. I don't know, any last words for our viewers, for black businesses out there, anything that you want them to look out for in the next episode? You can drop by and you can
Yeah,
see it.
sure, sure. I would say in closing for me, collaboration is truly a superpower. And I think that the more we can do shows like this and more we can do true, meaningful work together, I think we become a powerful fist, right? You've heard the old saying, a hand is not as powerful as a fist, right? Because when we do things individually, you got five individual businesses, but when we're fist, we're mighty, right? And I think that that's what I want to be able to close with. And I'm hoping that as we continue to have these conversations, people will understand how much of a superpower we really do have globally.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Oscar. This was
No, I appreciate
enlightening,
it.
and I am definitely excited about episode 2, and I really can't wait for what we would be teaching us in episode 2. Thank you guys for joining us today, and let us know in the comment section if the name Black and Global with Oscar Miracle is cool. If not, please let us know as well. And thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you all. Take care.